Rob, you talked a few weeks ago about home form being key to this next block and pivotal to your season. You got back on the horse, as it were, last week with a really hard-fought win against Harlequins. But reflect on it now. It was tough.
I think that kind of shows you exactly what I meant. Because we slip up that game, and then this game becomes even bigger pressure, and the next game, Greater Gloucester, becomes bigger pressure, and then we go into the Heineken Cup. So that's exactly what I meant. And the home form that we show was to win the game in difficult conditions against, not difficult conditions, difficult circumstances. I thought Harlequins played very well. They defended well, kept us at arm's length pretty well. We didn't help ourselves with our error count. Probably one of the worst error counts I've seen in us for quite a period of time, especially as there wasn't really an excuse amount of ball we dropped. We started brightly, didn't we? We were kind of cutting them apart a little bit, didn't quite convert a couple of chances. Quins converted their one opportunity, really, in that first half with a kind of couple of offload type break. A bit of a try out, nothing really, but kind of what Quins can do to you. Obviously, we kind of hit back then, and then it becomes about penalties and bits and pieces. And in the end, we did what we had to do in the second half, and I've got to give the players great credit for that. Second half, I think possession. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember which way round they were, but I think one stat of either possession or territory were over 75%. The other one at 65%. Well, they're big stats for a half of rugby. And it's probably that showed how hard we were prepared to work and drive and keep going until we scored the tries we needed to win the game. I've got to give the players great credit for that, because we didn't make it easy for ourselves, and we can be in control of some of that, but we still showed those hard work and fighting qualities to see us through in difficult circumstances. And those are 4 fantastically valuable points for us against the team placed third in the roster.
I know you've said it many times, but you don't win a Premiership game in the first 40. It can be an 80-minute game, and we've seen that the last 2 weeks in particular.
Yeah, our problem is not so much can we win it in the second 40, it's how to make sure we don't lose it in the first. Because at the moment, we're creating pressure scenarios on us in the first half that we can deal with better, because we can certainly be better than we are first halves at the moment. We can certainly cut down some of our error count. Because if you think what that does is you're in possession of the ball. The amount of times we made half breaks, we've got wide channel and got momentum, and then also literally we do just drop the ball. And then what you do, you get a scrum put into the opposition. They either get an attack or the opportunity to try and get a penalty out of you. And I actually thought we scrummed really well on Harlequins' ball and didn't give up. I think we gave up 1 penalty out of 10 or 12 scrum put-ins. So they then get the opportunity to play and gain territory, and you just kind of keep heaping pressure back on yourself. And so really, we would only have to reduce that error count by even 20-30%, and probably the game would have been a lot different game. So we know there's a lot of things we can do and can improve, and we've talked about them. But I can't criticise the lads for coming back and winning a game of pressure rugby like that. In almost any other circumstances, you'll take that. At the end of this season, if we end up where we want to be and we're in big games or within the Premiership, we're not going to look back and think about this as the turning point. We're not going to look back and think about a battling 1 point with a red card scenario like at Sale. They'll all add up, they'll all feel the same, and we'll know we've fought our way through and we've collected the points we've needed. And that's what's important. The important thing is you turn up now for the games you want to be in, not necessarily for the now.
When we restarted rugby back in August, Leicester was the first game back, and it was the first game under Steve Borthwick's charge. Several months on now, are we seeing a different Leicester, and we've got Steve's input and blueprint on their side now, are you seeing?
Well, I think you're seeing things. You're seeing a change in the squad, aren't you? There's a fair change in the direction they're heading, and you're certainly seeing a team that's starting to gain results. Going to Gloucester and winning last time out in a tough game, a tough environment there, you've got to say was a big result for them. So they're starting to gain that little bit of momentum. It's funny, we seem to keep playing against teams that have got momentum. Like the last 3 or 4 games, everyone seems to have momentum coming into it, and they all throw everything at us, which is great for us. It's probably we're probably in that real furnace of competitive rugby every week now that we've got to hope turns us into like steel. That's what we've got to hope from it, because we are getting challenged every week across the 80 minutes. Most of the time we're coming up with the answers. That's great for us. It's the environment we want to be in. And that challenge is going to be there again, because this is it's a great opportunity for Leicester to kind of start stepping up where they want to be. They're not going to be backward in wanting to become an established Premiership winning team again. That's in their kind of DNA, and we've got to make sure that we don't be a stepping stone for them to go back to where they want to be.
Are we seeing this as the most competitive Premiership in years? Probably maybe the time you've been in the league?
I think so, but it's for all kinds of situations, isn't it? There's been this big block of international games, so no one's had a really what you call a settled squad, apart from the few teams that haven't got a lot of international call-ups. So you're kind of fighting that part of it. Obviously, there's the short off-season, so we don't really know how that's affecting players at the moment, or what the situation is there. We've had pretty poor weather for an extended period of time, which has leveled things out to a degree. And I think nobody's appearing probably quite as dominant as a team that's just managed to blow away and get that big space at the top. Bristol have got a bit of a gap, but everybody else, it's 1 and 2 games, isn't it? Everything can flick in the course of a couple of rounds. So it is very level, it is competitive. The reality is it's kind of what it should be in a salary cap kind of scenario. That's what it should be like. It should be competitive because that's the reason of having a cap. It levels everybody out. And I think you're seeing the benefits of that. And I think it's only going to become more competitive over the next 2 or 3 years because people seem to be able to, we're learning from each other and we're fighting each other and we're in it every week now, aren't we?
We've not talked since the European draw. Now home advantage for a start against Lyon, potentially in a quarter-final as well. But Lyon, new opposition, new threat. What have you thought about?
Yeah, no, obviously it's a weird one, Steve, to be honest with you, because we're looking forward to it, but we're not. Because obviously we want to play Lyon. They're a new team for us. There's all the kind of things you're talking about, home advantage. They're all things that are great, but it's 3 weeks away. And actually, the important thing for us right now is to focus on Leicester. We need to get things right now because getting to Lyon on the back of a couple of losses, it will just feel like we'll come out of the European time under pressure. We'll be under pressure for what we want to achieve at the end of the season. So, we are excited about it, but it's something we've got to put at the back of our minds, and we've got to make sure we focus on being excited to play Leicester because these are the kind of games that will define our season come the end. We've got to make sure we're right now.
Bit of an injury update. Obviously, Slady's picked up some kind of knock with England. Ian Whitton, Tom Hendrickson last weekend. How are they assessed, and what's the latest on them all?
Still not sure on Slady. England fed back that he was potentially going to have a scan, depending on how he turned up today, I believe, or last night. So I don't know at this stage whether that's happened. That'll tell us a lot more. That's around his calf, Achilles type area. Obviously, the two guys, Whitson, Tom Hendrickson, had ankle issues, so we need to see how they pan out. Obviously, Alex Cuthbert came off, struggling with his hamstring again, which is obviously a real shame for him. We need to see how that we're still waiting for the results of a scan on that. So we are stretched a little bit back line, obviously with Hoggy away, with Jack No still limited. It is a little tight there, but it is what it is. Every team is challenged, and whenever you're challenged, you've got to accept it and embrace it and get on with it. And that's what we'll do this week against Leicester.